pause for a second. Before you flick your thumb and move on, let me ask you a question that might permanently shift how you view people, power, and life itself. Do you honestly think that being a good person keeps you safe? Do you believe kindness acts like a shield that protects you from betrayal? Do you assume generosity automatically guarantees loyalty? Or that honesty ensures respect? If your heart whispered yes to even one of these, then brace yourself, because you've been fed one of the most dangerous lies ever invented. A myth repeated so often that it feels like truth, but in reality, it's the very trap that keeps millions of people weak, broke, and brokenhearted. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Goodness alone doesn't protect you. In fact, in many cases, it destroys you. Goodness, when unguarded, behaves like fire. It shines bright, yes, but it also consumes everything around it if left uncontrolled. It can burn through your friendships, eat away at your career, ruin your ambitions, and leave you standing in the ashes of your own dreams. And history is filled with examples of kind-hearted leaders who fell, not because they lacked skill, but because they trusted their goodness too much. Niccolò Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He studied rulers who were loved for their kindness but crushed by their enemies. He observed generous kings betrayed by the very people they fed. He noted how gentle rulers, unwilling to be strategic, became victims of cruelty. Then, he documented the brutal truth that most people are too afraid to admit even today. That's what I'm here to share with you. The hidden cost of blind goodness. The truth that society has buried under slogans like, "Nice guys finish first," or, "Just be kind and the world will treat you kindly." Lies, beautiful lies, and the longer you believe them, the weaker you become. Because here's the ugly fact. Most people don't respect kindness. They exploit it. They see your willingness to give as a signal that you won't fight back. They interpret your patience as permission to take advantage of you. They measure your honesty as naivete they can twist against you. And the saddest part? The more good you are without strategy, the easier you are to use. But before I go further, let me make something absolutely clear. I am not telling you to turn evil. I'm not suggesting you become cruel, manipulative, or heartless. This isn't about becoming a villain. What I am telling you is this. If you want to survive in a world that's full of wolves, you cannot afford to behave like a blind sheep. You need to learn what I call strategic goodness. This means you remain good, but not gullible. You remain kind, but not naive. You give, but with wisdom. You help, but with boundaries. Because only then does your goodness transform from a weakness into your most powerful weapon. Say this out loud, or better yet, drop it in the comments if this were a video. Asterisk, I choose strategic goodness. Asterisk, that's your new affirmation. From today forward, your kindness will no longer be an open door for parasites. It will be a tool sharpened and controlled, used when it benefits you and protects you, not when it destroys you. This one shift alone changes everything. Now let's break this down deeper. Why doesn't goodness protect you? Why does it so often lead to pain? And more importantly, how do you transform it into power? First shocking truth. Goodness as exposure. Think about the warmest, kindest person you know. Maybe it's a coworker who always helps others, a friend who never says no, or that family member who sacrifices everything for everyone else. Now, be honest, are they genuinely respected? Or are they the go-to person everyone leans on when they need something, but rarely protect or stand up for when it matters? That's the first tragedy of blind goodness. It exposes you. Being endlessly kind makes you predictable. People can map your behavior. They know you won't argue. They know you'll say yes. They know you'll forgive, which means you're easy to manipulate. You become the colleague who stays late because no one else will, the friend who always covers the bill, the sibling who sacrifices their own dreams for the family's comfort. You slowly become the doormat, welcomed, used, but never respected. And here's the harshest truth. Respect is not given to those who are simply nice. Respect is earned by those who combine goodness with strength. The respect paradox. People don't admire endless giving. They admire controlled giving. A person who says yes to everything loses value, but the one who says yes selectively becomes powerful. When your kindness is unconditional, people stop appreciating it. They take it as entitlement. But when your kindness has limits, it becomes valuable. Think of it like water in the desert. Precious because it's rare, not because it's overflowing. This is why kindness without boundaries backfires. Instead of admiration, it breeds expectation. Instead of loyalty, it breeds laziness. Instead of respect, it breeds exploitation. Why goodness needs teeth. Imagine living in a jungle. If you're a harmless deer, predators see you as food. But if you're a lion, even if you don't attack, your very presence commands respect. The same rule applies to human interactions. Pure goodness without power positions you as prey. Strategic goodness, backed with strength, positions you as someone others don't dare cross. This is the difference between being loved and being respected. People may love the deer, but they fear and respect the lion. And in life, respect matters more than blind affection. #### the betrayal of the good. Look back at history, literature, or even your personal life. How many times have you seen good people betrayed by those they trusted most? The faithful friend abandoned, the giving parent ignored, the honest employee replaced by a cunning liar. Why does this happen? Because unprotected goodness attracts opportunists. It's like leaving your house door open in a dangerous city. Sure, you're trusting, but you're also inviting thieves. In the same way, being endlessly good without strategy signals to predators that you're open for exploitation, transforming goodness into power. So, how do you fix this? By reframing goodness as a tool, not a default setting. Instead of being kind all the time, you become kind when it matters. Instead of being generous blindly, you become generous wisely. Instead of being honest to everyone, you learn when truth empowers you and when silence protects you. Strategic goodness means your kindness serves you and strengthens others, not weakens you. Here's a practical shift. Stop saying yes automatically. Pause. Ask yourself, does this request benefit both me and them? Or does it only drain me? If it drains you completely, learn to say no without guilt. Another shift. Stop giving out of fear that people won't like you. Start giving because you choose to, not because you're pressured to. And the biggest shift of all, stop equating being good with being weak. Start combining kindness with boundaries, empathy with strength, generosity with wisdom. Why this matters now more than ever. We live in a time where manipulation has become an art form. Social media glorifies fake kindness while people quietly exploit each other behind the screen. Workplaces reward the cunning more than the kind. Relationships break down because one partner gives endlessly while the other takes without limit. In this climate, blind goodness is not just dangerous, it's suicidal. If you don't evolve, you'll keep wondering why your relationships feel one-sided, why your efforts go unnoticed, why your respect never matches your sacrifices. The truth is not that the world is unfair. The truth is that you never learned to weaponize your goodness. #### the call to action. So here's what I challenge you to do. From today, retire the idea of being nice no matter what. Replace it with being strategically good. Be kind, but don't be used. Be generous, but don't be drained. Be honest, but not naive. Walk like a lion in the jungle. Gentle with those who deserve it. Unshakable against those who try to prey on you. Because only then will your goodness stop being your downfall and start being your crown. Remember this. Wolves respect lions, never sheep. And in this world, you're either respected or consumed. Let me paint you a picture. I once knew a manager who was, without exaggeration, the most selfless leader I had ever seen. He constantly stepped in for his team, shielded them from pressure, stayed late to finish their work, and always placed their comfort before his own. You'd think such devotion would make him the obvious choice for promotion, right? Wrong. When the time came to reward leadership, the recognition went to someone else. Someone less helpful, less sacrificing, but more commanding in presence. Why? Because in the harsh reality of human psychology, the overly nice individual rarely looks like a leader. They look like a caretaker, a follower, a background supporter. That's the brutal paradox of excessive goodness. Instead of elevating you, It traps you in the role of servant. People don't admire endless selflessness the way you imagine. They don't respect it. More often, they see it as an opening to lean on you, exploit you, and drain you dry. Think about it. If someone is always available, their presence loses value. If someone never sets boundaries, others stop noticing the line altogether. If someone never shows any sharpness, people assume there's nothing dangerous beneath the surface. That's when kindness shifts from being a virtue to being a liability. What signals safety to you signals weakness to others. Niccolò Machiavelli captured this centuries ago when he wrote that the lion is powerful enough to frighten wolves but too clumsy to avoid traps, while the fox is clever enough to detect snares but too weak to scare predators. His conclusion: to survive, you must be both the fox to outwit and the lion to intimidate. But most people, perhaps even you, have tried to survive as sheep in a world of predators, and that is exactly why you've been bruised again and again. If you resonate with this, drop this affirmation in your mind and carry it with you. I protect my energy. Now let's pull back the curtain on the second trap, the generosity trap. Here's a twist that may shock you. The more you give, the less people appreciate it. Sounds upside down, doesn't it? But let me show you how it plays out. At first, your giving wins applause. People praise you, thank you, talk about how amazing you are. For a while, it feels rewarding. But human psychology has a nasty trick called hedonic adaptation, our tendency to quickly normalize what once thrilled us. That generous act that left them grateful the first time becomes expected the 10th time. Your exception becomes the rule. If you give once, you're heroic. If you give repeatedly, you're predictable. And the moment you stop, you're not remembered for your 9 yes, you're crucified for your 1 no. Suddenly, you're painted as selfish, unhelpful, even disloyal. Parents see this all the time. Give your children gifts in the beginning, and they sparkle with joy. Do it over and over, and the joy fades into entitlement. The new gadget is no longer special, it's just routine. And when the day comes that the parent finally says no, the child doesn't recall years of indulgence. They scream about the unfairness of the one denial. The same dynamic corrodes friendships. You're the one who always covers the bill, always gives the ride, always sacrifices your time. In the beginning, people show gratitude, but soon they stop noticing. It's not generosity anymore, it's just who you are to them. And when you finally ask for help in return, excuses pile up. Suddenly, they're too busy. This is the poison hidden in generosity. It turns you into a supplier. And like all addicts, people dependent on your giving don't thank you for the supply. They rage when the supply is cut off. This is why unchecked generosity doesn't build loyalty. It builds dependency, entitlement, and eventually resentment. Machiavelli understood this when he warned that benefits should be given sparingly and over time so they remain valuable. Now comes the third layer, the mask of virtue. Brace yourself because this is going to sting. Society doesn't care if you are truly good. Cares if you look good. People don't judge your heart. They judge your image. Appearances rule, perception dictates power. The cruel reality is that you can be the most genuine, kind-hearted soul alive, and if you don't package it correctly, it will not translate into respect or authority. Meanwhile, someone else with less kindness but more awareness of appearances will rise above you. Look closely at the most influential figures in your field, in politics, in business, even in your local community. Do you really think they climbed to the top by being endlessly nice? No. They mastered the art of strategic image. They wear the mask of goodness when the spotlight is on them but wield sharp decisiveness when the doors are closed. They smile for the crowd, but behind that smile they calculate. They forgive when it serves their interest, and they stand firm when leniency would weaken their authority. They balance the appearance of virtue with the exercise of power. And here's the kicker, you must learn to do the same if you want respect that lasts. Think about it this way. Life is not a stage play where the most genuine actor wins. It's more like a chessboard where perception is the currency and moves must be calculated. If you insist on playing the game with raw honesty, you'll keep losing to those who understand presentation. That doesn't mean abandoning goodness, it means disguising it strategically. You maintain your values, but you also manage how they are seen. You offer kindness publicly in ways that strengthen your position, and you reserve mercy privately when it won't harm your standing. This is not deception, it's survival. Because the truth is, the world rarely rewards raw goodness. It rewards controlled goodness combined with strength, boundaries, and presentation. So here's the transformation I want you to make. Stop being the endlessly available helper who bleeds themselves dry. Stop being the giver who hands out so much that nobody values it. Stop being the open book whose honesty gets weaponized against them. Instead, embrace a new way of being. Led with selective kindness, not unlimited kindness. Give with wisdom, not with compulsion. Wear the mask of virtue when it strengthens your influence, but never forget the power underneath it. You are not a sheep destined to be devoured. You are a fox-lion hybrid, clever enough to avoid traps, strong enough to face wolves, and smart enough to control how the world perceives you. Because here's the ultimate truth. People will always test the boundaries of your goodness. They will always see how much they can take. If you don't set the terms, they will. If you don't manage your image, they'll define it for you. If you don't control your giving, they'll consume you without guilt. That's why from this day forward, you must carry 3 affirmations. Asterisk, I protect my energy. I give strategically. I master my image. Asterisk, these 3 principles will transform your goodness from being your downfall into being your power. They will prevent your kindness from being seen as weakness, your generosity from being seen as obligation, and your virtue from being seen as naivety. The game of life is not about abandoning who you are, it's about weaponizing who you are. Goodness is not meant to be a chain that holds you down. It's meant to be a sword that you know how to wield. And when you master that, when you combine goodness with strength, generosity with limits, and virtue with strategy, you stop being the servant everyone uses and start being the leader everyone respects. There's a truth about power that most people never learn until it's too late. The strongest leaders know when to show compassion and when to reveal their iron. They understand that looking virtuous is often more impactful than being virtuous in reality. That doesn't mean pretending or living a lie. It means acting with strategy, not blind innocence. Think of it this way. When a surgeon cuts into someone's body, the act itself looks violent. Blood spills, flesh is opened, and pain is caused. But is the surgeon cruel? Not at all. That cut is necessary for healing. That pain is the doorway to survival. In the same way, authentic leadership often demands actions that might appear cold or even harsh in the moment but serve a greater good. Sometimes protecting your people means refusing their requests. Sometimes saving your team means rejecting what's popular. Sometimes safeguarding the future requires decisions that others will criticize in the present. The mask of virtue is not about lying, it's about timing. It's about knowing when to reveal warmth and when to reveal resolve. The average person gets this balance completely wrong. They show softness to their rivals and hostility to their loved ones. The wise do the reverse. They guard their vulnerability from adversaries and reserve their strength for protecting allies. Machiavelli once warned that people only see your surface. They rarely know the truth of who you are inside. And because perception shapes reality, being perceived as fragile makes you fragile, while being perceived as strong makes you strong. So carry this truth forward. I control how I am seen. Now let's move into another hard lesson, the economy of power. Every action you take, every favor you extend, every moment you give away has a hidden price tag. Most well-meaning people never think in these terms. They believe kindness is limitless, that generosity replenishes itself. So they keep pouring themselves out until they are empty, and then they wonder why they feel used, bitter, and worn down. But here's the reality: your time, your focus, your energy, they are finite currencies. Spend them carelessly and you end up bankrupt. This is not selfishness. This is simple arithmetic. Endless giving will drain you. And when you are drained, you are no longer useful to anyone. Not to yourself, not to your dreams, not even to the people you are trying so desperately to help. The airline safety demonstration gets it right. Put your oxygen mask on first before assisting others. Why? Because if you collapse while trying to save another, now there are 2 lives at risk instead of 1. Life follows the same principle. If you burn yourself out, you don't save more people, you become another casualty. The wisest individuals recognize that conserving energy is not cruelty. It's sustainability. I learned this from personal experience. For years, I agreed to everything. I said yes to every request, every favor, every small demand disguised as just one little thing. And what did it lead to? My own goals were pushed aside. My projects gathered dust. My enthusiasm soured into resentment. I became quietly angry at the very people I was trying to serve. And the irony? Because I was exhausted, I was less capable of helping the people who genuinely needed me. That's when the truth hit me. Every yes to others is a no to yourself. And too many no's to yourself eventually destroy everything you could have offered the world. The most impactful givers in history didn't scatter themselves thin. They learned to decline most requests so that their few yes carried real power. As Machiavelli reminded us, anyone who expects obedience must first learn to master themselves. And mastery begins with controlling how your time, your energy, and your focus are spent. Say it to yourself now: I protect my resources. From there, we move into the realm of intentional virtue. Let me be clear. I am not urging you to discard compassion, honesty, or generosity. These are powerful tools. But like all tools, their value comes not from constant use but from precise application. A sword hanging on a wall saves no one. A sword recklessly swung cuts down friend and foe alike. But a sword wielded skillfully at the right moment can protect an entire kingdom. Your goodness must operate like that sword, deliberate, well-timed, and purposeful. Don't sprinkle kindness aimlessly. Focus it like a laser. Don't offer your mercy to everyone indiscriminately. Offer it where it multiplies results. Don't spread your generosity so thin that it becomes background noise. Use it where it creates lasting impact. Instead of trying to please everyone, pour deeply into the people who matter most. Instead of saying yes to all, reserve your yes for the requests that align with your values and strengthen your mission. This approach elevates your reputation in 3 ways. Your help is more treasured because it is rare, your impact is deeper because it is concentrated, and your respect grows because you are selective. History's most celebrated figures weren't universally nice. They were strategically good. Martin Luther King Jr. was kind, yes, but he was unyielding against injustice. Mother Teresa didn't try to help every single person on earth. She devoted herself intensely to the poorest of the poor. They were compassionate, but their compassion was focused like a blade, not scattered like dust. You can live this way too. Before you agree to anything, pause and ask, does this align with my mission? Can I do this without harming myself? Will this be genuinely respected? If the answer is yes, commit fully. That's how your kindness transforms into influence rather than obligation. Remember this affirmation: I practice effective kindness. Next comes a bitter pill, the fading nature of gratitude. We want to believe that the people we help will always remember, always cherish our sacrifices. But human psychology doesn't work like that. Gratitude has a short shelf life. The more frequently you do favors, the faster those favors stop being seen as gifts and start being seen as duties. What begins as, thank you so much, soon mutates into, of course you'll do this. By the 4th or 5th time, your extraordinary effort is not extraordinary at all. It's simply expected. And if one day you can't deliver, suddenly you are framed as selfish or unreliable. This isn't because people are malicious, it's because they're human. Our brains normalize blessings quickly. Exceptional treatment becomes the new baseline. That's why the people you assist constantly often become the least appreciative, while the people you rarely help value it the most. The neighbor you help move once is grateful. Help them 3 more times, and by the 4th, they just assume you'll show up. Decline, and you become the villain in their story. At work, the employee who stays late every night stops being celebrated, until the one night they leave on time, and suddenly they're accused of slacking. Gratitude, in its natural state, evaporates quickly, which means your strategy must change. Stop thinking endless giving will increase appreciation. It won't. If anything, it lowers it. Learn to set limits. Let people occasionally feel your absence so they recognize the weight of your presence. Machiavelli's insight that people judge more by what they currently see than by what they previously felt is as true now as it was centuries ago. People forget your past sacrifices. They notice only your present actions. Say this with me: I create lasting impact. Now let's face another truth. The world does not reward intentions. It rewards results. You could have the purest heart in existence, but if your actions don't generate outcomes, your intentions mean nothing. History doesn't immortalize people because they meant well. It remembers those who achieved, who built, who changed. A strict parent who disciplines isn't cruel. They're shaping a responsible adult. A demanding teacher who grades hard isn't unkind. They're preparing students for life's realities. A tough boss who sets high standards isn't unfair. They're sculpting stronger teams. In all these cases, temporary discomfort creates permanent growth. That is real goodness, not the shallow goodness of keeping everyone comfortable, but the deeper goodness of producing lasting results. Nice people often avoid conflict, avoid hard truths, avoid disappointment. Truly good people confront these things because they care about real outcomes. Niceness preserves comfort. Goodness drives change. Machiavelli's claim that the end justifies the means is often misunderstood. What it really points to is this: your noble intentions mean little if they don't produce noble results. People don't live inside your heart. They live with the consequences of your decisions. So stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, will this make things better? The affirmation to anchor here is, I prioritize results over intentions. Finally, let's talk legacy and survival. What do you leave behind? What do people remember? The truth is, the world doesn't celebrate those who were merely agreeable. It remembers those who shaped it. You can probably name innovators, leaders, and visionaries who transformed history, but not a list of nice people who faded quietly into obscurity. Steve Jobs, for example, was often harsh and uncompromising. Yet his work reshaped industries and lives. He wasn't celebrated for being pleasant. He was remembered for making an impact. That's the hard truth about legacy. To leave a mark, you must first endure long enough to create it. And survival requires more than kindness. It requires strength, cunning, and resilience. The kindest soul cannot serve anyone if they are crushed under the weight of exploitation. The most generous spirit cannot give if they have already given everything away. The most honest voice cannot speak if it is silenced by those who prefer comforting lies. First, you must endure. Then you can contribute. Then you can shape the future. Protect yourself so you can protect others. Strengthen yourself so you can lift others. Build resilience so you can offer real support. This is not selfish, it is strategic preservation. And those who change the world know this instinctively. They are not doormats. They are not people pleasers. They are strong enough to say no, to enforce boundaries, to choose wisely. They embody both goodness and power. And if forced to choose, they choose power first, because without power, goodness cannot survive. Machiavelli's controversial reminder that being feared is safer than being loved if you cannot be both simply means that respect carries more weight than affection. Outcomes outweigh popularity. Influence matters more than applause. You do not have to abandon goodness, but you must marry it with strength if you want it to last. Here's the ultimate conclusion. Goodness without strategy is a trap. It leaves you open, drained, and forgotten. But goodness with strategy is a weapon. Protects, empowers, and creates change. You now know the hidden costs of blind generosity, the temporary nature of gratitude, and the emptiness of intentions without results. More importantly, you know how to transform your kindness into influence, your mercy into strength, your generosity into impact. So I leave you with one final choice. Will you continue being good in the old way, unbounded, unguarded, unsustainable, or will you embrace goodness in the new way, strategic, powerful, effective? The decision is yours. But remember, in a world of wolves, your survival does not lie in being a sheep. It lies in being a shepherd, wise, protective, and strong. Your goodness is not weakness. Used correctly, it is your sharpest sword. Declare it to yourself, I master strategic goodness.